I spend most of my time viewing what I want from the outside. I comb it over like it's the scene of a crime. The only guilty I find staring back at me in the mirror at night, stuck in place just waiting for a green light. But I can't lie awake for someone else to say I can live my the only comfort I've found is blending in with another crowd. When things go wrong, we'll pass the blame around. 'Cause I can't lie awake for someone else to say I can live my why do I keep asking for permission? Oh, and I can't lie awake for someone else to say I can live my life.
All right, good morning, good morning. Let me get some more lights on here. So good to be here. Great to be live again with y'all. I actually added, I am here on Instagram also. So we'll be playing to all the platforms today. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of them. To have the conversation. We're going to start trying to do that more often to all the platforms. Now, here's the deal. If you leave me a question on LinkedIn, it's the only place I cannot get the questions directly. If you do it on Facebook or YouTube, they'll pop into my system here. I can see them also on Instagram and everything. So I get a chance to see you and all that. So say hi. Let me know where you're coming in from. Those of you that have not joined me before, welcome. This is Money Mentoring Mornings. I try to do this every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. I had missed a few because of my travels and my speaking and everything, but we're back. And and everything. So I'm back in the studio. I've got a few things to do today. How these things go, for those of you that are unaware of it, I usually have a short talk at the beginning about something that's going on, something I see, trends in the market. It's everything that we talk about is about money, about finance, about wealth. It's about life. It's about retirement, what we should be doing. And the idea is to have real conversations around something that the world, for some reason, has told us we're not supposed to talk about, money. But yet it's very difficult for us to even go through life without money touching any aspect of it. Yet if we have this thing called money that touches every aspect of our life, it is also one of the greatest stressors in a relationship. It's also one of the biggest things that come between people. In fact, I've got a special training and stuff that's going to be coming out called Love and Money and everything to deal with it, because I think that this is where it is. But they tell us not to talk about it. But this becomes this pervasive stressor in our lives. So this channel and my work is to talk about it. Okay, I don't necessarily follow the rules, but I truly believe that each and every one of you, and me included, that financial freedom is a birthright. And that being the case, we just got to know how to go claim it. And that's how I want to kind of play this and everything. And so that's the game we're playing. So I'm going to talk about a little something that I think I see a tendency or trend in the economy, in the market, in people's lives right now. And then I'll open it up for questions. And if you have questions, do me a favor, put a big Q with a colon, and then put your question into the comments, and then I'll go through them. I have questions that get submitted to me that I make a list of, and I answer those too. And we'll go for a little while, and here to serve you, here to support you, and see what we can have happen. All right, so let's do this. Here's what I see. Okay, when there's this trend that I'm seeing when I'm talking to people around their money, around that, and even seeing it in some of the data that's out. Okay, if your money habits had a relationship status, it would probably say it's complicated. All right, because here's what's happening. Here's what I'm seeing people do. You're putting cash into savings like a responsible adult and like you're supposed to do. And then you're financing, not you, but people are financing groceries like a college kid that's trying to make rent. Okay. That's not financial discipline. That's financial whiplash. You're flooring it and riding the brakes at the same time. That's what I see. When we are sitting back saying, hey, I want to put money away, but now you can use Klarno to pay for your DoorDash meals, there's a challenge there. And if that's something that maybe some of us are doing, you're not alone, because the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says that 21% of Americans with credit cards, with credit record, they use the buy now, pay later perspective. Okay. And that's up from 17.5% and everything. So if someone's been swiping and splitting payments and everything, you're in good company, because that's what a lot of people are doing, because there's a bus full of people kind of heading towards the same pothole. And I think it is a pothole that we need to be aware of. Remember I said that your ability to build wealth is directly related to your behaviors, your habits, and your decisions, more so than your money. Okay. And so it's the behaviors we want to talk about. It's not you, it's behaviors, it's habits, it's decisions. And we tend to get caught into the flow and the current of the market, of what's going on. We've made it okay. I did an episode on my show about the financial habits from the 1970s that I think we should have brought back to today. Now, it was a fun episode because it allowed me to go back to my childhood and see what Dad did and all that stuff. But when you look at the data there, the idea of a credit card back in the 70s, the generally used credit card, there wasn't that many. Now there's over 500 million credit cards out there. Okay, so we've become indoctrinated into payments, credit cards, buy now, pay later, easy purchasing. Okay, but at the same time, you've got people like myself who are saying, hey, you need to save. You need to put money away. You need to get money to work harder for you than you did for it. And so it's important for us to understand where these things play into our lives, how we're playing the game. Because when you look at it, we've been taught that savings equals progress. But here's the bold truth. Savings, while secretly stacking high interest debt, is like trying to bail water out of a boat, okay? While you're drilling holes in the bottom of the boat. You can't do it, okay? That's not a money machine. That's a money mirage, okay? It's a shinier leash that keeps you tied to a treadmill of earnings and payment plans that we need to be aware of. Now, the people that are putting you into these payment plans certainly are not going to talk to you about it because it doesn't do them any good. Their job is to sell this stuff. Okay? And the swipe now crowd, this buy now, pay later boom that we're seeing started as a way to get big ticket stuff without crying when your credit card bill came in. Okay, now this is kind of a different version of what was happening in the 70s, which was layaways. But the thing is that when you did the layaways in the 70s, you didn't take possession of the goods until you paid it all off. So there was still that piece of it there. But here we take possession of the goods, and then we have the payment plan. One of the things I tell people, I said, if the payment plan is longer than the enjoyment of the thing you bought, something's wrong. Okay? Yeah. The layaways that's a blast from the past. Here's the interesting thing. Lending Tree said that 25% of buy now, pay it later users are using it for groceries. That's crazy that we're financing our groceries. Now, I get it. Groceries have gone up, okay? Prices have gone up. But if we're financing our everyday living, we have a problem in our money, okay? And 41% say they have been late on at least one payment. And up to 34%, up from 34%. So I think I'm looking at some of this data. It's crazy. So what's happening is that we end up in this spinning plate game of payments if we're not careful. Now, there's the other side of it, and that is the savings side of it, which actually is better because the personal savings rate has gone up, meaning that we're putting money away for the future. Now, I think that's a product of a couple things. One, there's a feeling of uncertainty right now in the marketplace that is, what's going to happen with the tariffs? What's going to happen with the economy? Is the market going to drop? The market's at an all-time high. What's going to happen with jobs? All that uncertainty gets people to say, hey, I need to bring cash in just in case. Now, mind you, if you're following what I teach, and the Wealth Priority Ladder, or if you've got my book, which you should have my book, Building Your Money Machine, I talk about it in chapter 12, that no matter what is going on in the economy, you should have a process with your money, a money that gives you a process that gives you an unshakable foundation and helps you build sustainable wealth on top of that, okay? So when you look at this idea of savings and spending on payment plans, that's a problem because the danger zone is this. There's a lot of people doing both, putting money away and financing their daily life. Okay, you can't fill a bathtub with a drain open. It doesn't work. Okay, the good habits don't cancel out the bad habits. Okay, saving $200 on Tuesday doesn't erase $200 in debt on Thursday, and that's kind of the game we're playing. And we're literally running on a treadmill, but not getting anywhere. Okay, now there's when you start to look at this, that the rising saving rates make things look stable, but if those savings are paired with hidden debt, then we're really not getting ahead. We're really not getting ahead. And that's the thing that we need to think about. So what are the things that I think we should be focused on this? First off is this. I think you need to do an audit of your auto pays. Okay? Go through your accounts. Find everything that maybe is a buy now, pay later. Now, I don't have any real payment plans. Now, I have subscriptions, which is a whole nother conversation. And some of these subscriptions are just, don't get me going, but I got an email this morning from one of my subscriptions that said, we're converting our subscription to credits. So now you have to buy credits, and based on your activity, you'll use up credits, which to me is it's a way to fog how much you're going to spend. I hate the credit game in the sense of just buy credits. Well, can't you just give me a price and let me pay that price and get the services versus me trying to figure out whether one credit equals this? I mean, they actually did this when my mom was in assisted living. Instead of saying it's $20 a day to do this and $30 a day to do that, they would say it's 32 credits a day to do that or 80 credits to do that per day. And then I got to go through the translation of the currency exchange from credits to dollars. To me, it's a way to shadow and impair your ability to understand what's spending. I think it's horrible, but that was a personal detour for a moment. Okay, so first things, audit your auto pays. Go through your accounts, figure out what payments you have, what subscriptions you have that are random. Treat it like whack-a-mole. Okay, if you forgot you had it, you probably don't need it. Cancel it. Okay, if you forgot you had it, you probably don't need it. Cancel it. So step 2. Give your money a job. The wealth priority ladder that I teach is right here for you guys on Instagram, right here. Okay, this is the wealth priority ladder that I teach. It literally is telling every dollar what its job description is. If you don't have a job description for your money before the money comes in, it's going to do what it wants. And usually that means it's going to run away. All right, so the fact is that random cash is lazy money. We want money that's going to work for us. The subtitle of my book is How to Get Your Money to Work Harder for You Than You Did for It. Your financial freedom will be built on the backs of the dollars that are working harder for you. Okay? Give every single dollar a roll. It might be an emergency fund or peace of mind fund. It might be the down payment. It might be for rent. It might be for the mortgage. It might be for your freedom. Whatever it is, but you've intentionally defined it. Okay? You've intentionally defined it to bring it in. Okay? Number 3 is time to stop hoarding and start growing. Okay? In other words, I don't want you just savings. When you follow the wealth priority ladder, once you get to a threshold, now we need to start investing. That's when we say, now you're going to go bring some more dollars home for me. Okay? Get it invested. Otherwise, inflation's going to eat it away. So we want money in savings for the purpose of liquidity and safety and protection. But excess money in savings we don't want. And we want it in a high yield savings account. The rest we want it invested in broad-based, low-cost ETFs and index funds. That way we protect it from inflation. Inflation-protected types of assets, real estate, business interests, equities, those kinds of things. And step 4 is Earn, save/invest, then spend. That's the order. Follow the recipe. Make savings and investing your priority, not your current lifestyle. And if you look at it and you go, well, then if I did that now, I don't like my current lifestyle. I can't pay for my current lifestyle. Well, guess what? Tough love right here. I get it. That means that we have to examine our spending, but we also have to examine, are we getting paid our worth? We have to examine how we're making money. Can we increase the income so we can get the lifestyle and the investing in place to make it happen? Okay. So I think that it's time for us to look at it from that perspective, because look, I've done it in the past too. I've done the buy now, pay laters. I don't do it anymore. Okay. But here's the thing that we know. You cannot drive in two directions at the same time. Okay. The people who are going to win financially aren't the ones with the highest savings rate and the slickest debt shuffle. Okay. They're the ones that pick a direction and they focus on that direction. And if you have debt, I'm cool with it. Let's get you on a debt payment plan. Let's start to get you out of that anchor that's around your ankles, that's slowing you down to the financial freedom you deserve. Okay? Because remember, I want us to then build the income, but the income itself isn't enough. Earning more will not make you free. Building the money machine will. And that freedom doesn't come from the next raise. It doesn't come from the next paycheck. It doesn't come from getting another client. That freedom comes the moment you start to get your money to work harder for you than you did for it. Okay? So I'm hoping that you'll get a chance to look at things in a different way and examine the things that we're doing. You know, are we buying things we shouldn't buy? Are we doing it on payment plans that we shouldn't be paying out? And what can we make happen? All right? That's what I had for you this morning. I saw some of the data, I saw some of the stats, and I just wanted to have a frank conversation saying, look, if you're financing part of your lifestyle, at the same time you're trying to invest for a future, there's a disconnect there, and let's find something where we're on the same boat, rowing the same direction and not going against each other. All right? With that, I'm going to open it up for questions. I see some questions that have come in here. I've got some questions that have come in online, and hopefully this makes sense and everything. I'm going to go up. Let me just page up and see what questions we have here, and make it rock and roll. Simone is here. Jason is here. You are so welcome, Simone. I think we need to talk about it. Art of War is back. It's good to be back. All right. Buy now, pay later has helped me. Oh, Jason. Yeah, we've talked about it. Buy now, pay later has helped me get me into financial debt, working my way out of it now and rebuilding my financial freedom. Good on you, my friend. And it's going to be good to see you soar. And I know you're working hard on it. All right. Marco says, my portfolio is boring. I decided to add international to my portfolio. Let me be really clear. Marco, if you decided to add international to the portfolio, I hope it wasn't because your portfolio was boring. I hope it was because there was a strategic reason to add to it. Let me tell you about my investing. My investing is like watching paint dry. It is boring as hell. But the fact of the matter is that you should not be getting an adrenaline rush from your investing. If there is a dopamine hit or an adrenaline rush from your investing, something is wrong. That's not where we want the adrenaline rush or the dopamine hit. So I want it to be boring. I want you to be in a place where it's consistent over time. So, and I get where you're going, Marco. We want a portfolio, so you're building the portfolio so you have an international component there. But the reason to do it isn't because it was boring, hopefully. All right. Oh, wait a second. So now you say, I feel I need more risk as someone in your 20s. I need more risk doesn't equal more reward, but it's annoying seeing funds like QQQ and VGT outperforming the benchmark 9 out of 10 times. Well, so first off, you're in your 20s. That means you have a long runway. And because you have a long runway, it's not that you need more risk, because no one needs risk, okay? But you can take on more risk. Now, you made a really great distinction here, okay? And that is this, is that more risk doesn't necessarily mean more return. It should. The reason that they are willing to give you more return is because you're taking on more risk. So there's this risk return kind of teeter-totter that you're playing with. So it's not about just flippantly taking on more risk. It's about looking for better returns, knowing that we're taking on a bit more risk. And how does that fit in your overall risk profile? Okay. Yes, in your 20s, you have, if there's a downturn in the market, let's say that there's a downturn in the market for Marco, but he's in his 20s. 8 out of 10 years, the market goes up. 90% of the time, when you go 10 years out, the market, you're going to make money. So when you look at the data. So rather than get caught up in the misses are, this, because if you look at what happens every year, and I don't have the chart available handy right now, but every year, different categories of assets will perform better. It might be REITs one year. It might be international another year. It might be S&P 500 another year. So the point is that you will never get it right every single year. Even the best hedge fund traders do not get it right every single year. This is why we create a diversified portfolio that has exposure to across the different asset classes. And when we have the exposure across the different asset classes, what we'll get is that some of our asset classes are going to perform really, really well. Others may not. And then all of a sudden it flips. But the point is that our long-term returns are 8, 9, 10, 12, 13%. And over the long term, that's going to make a big difference. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Question. And then I'm going to come back. Oh, thank you for that. Dental assistant coach, she says, my book is truly amazing. Thank you for doing this. Oh, it's a gift. All right. Is transferring credit card balances to lower rate credit cards a viable option for paying off cards, or is it a scam? Well, no. So it is not a viable option to pay off credit cards because you're actually not paying off the credit card. You're just transferring the balance. So first things first, we have to stop using, if we have a credit card issue, we have to stop using the credit cards. You just got to stop. That means that if we're using credit cards, we're to pay our monthly expenses, we're living beyond our means. We have to do some critical looks at our spending, at our income, and make some deep decisions. 1. 2, can you do a transfer balance to try and get you from a high interest to low interest? Yes, but usually there's fees involved. So we need to be careful about the fees because it could wipe it out. 2, let's say you're transferring to a 0% card, how long is that 0% available for? Is it 3 months, 6 months, a year? And what happens after that? And what happens if you miss one payment or you're late on one payment? You got to look at all of it. If you were going to do a credit card transfer in an effort to try and get out of debt on the credit cards, here's how I would look at it. You first put yourself on a debt payment plan. You have a structured payment plan that's going to get you out of debt in a short period of time. Then you look at it and you say, if I substituted a 0% card for this debt. What does it do to the debt payment plan, and how can I get out of debt faster? And then if you were going to, and you take in consideration any transfer fees and all that stuff, then you might be able to make sense of it. But the only way it makes sense to do it is not to stall the inevitable, meaning that the bill will be due, but to accelerate your ability to pay it, because now most of the money's going towards principal and not going towards interest. Okay? So the credit card transfer is not a scam. It's a legit transfer, but it will not get you out of the hole if you don't have a plan to dig out. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Cool. Let me see what's going on Instagram. I definitely had market turn down on my pension in my 20s. It went lower than I paid into it, and I held it for so long. I finally moved it, and now it's 200 times what it started 30 years later. Kelly Jamison, awesome. You stayed in the game. That's the thing to do, is because remember, we don't need this money today. We need this money years from now. Thank you. All right, so let's go back some more questions. Simone says, how do you feel about me buying a laptop for my daughter for college on my 0% for 18 months credit card? I've always paid these purchases off before interest hits, but is this irresponsible behavior? This is a great question, Simone. So here's the question. Here's the real question. I don't know your situation. If you have a bunch more debt and you're struggling to pay your bills, then it's not something I would do. Okay. 2, before you even do that, there may be student discounts and other things that you might be able to get for your daughter, because they do that for college students. But if you have your lifestyle expenses covered, and you're not buried in debt, and you're not swimming in debt, and you're not struggling with debt, then, and you're willing to make sure that you pay it off in the 0% time frame, I'm okay with it. Listen, we replaced all the windows in our house. Y'all, talk about scope creep, all right? We brought the window company into the house because we simply wanted to replace one old wooden window in the house, okay? We live on the beach and the salt water just eats it. And there was this old, one big window, and it was wood, and I wanted to replace it. So I wanted them to replace it. By the time they were through, they didn't give me a quote for that one window. They ended up replacing over 30 windows in the house. Now that cost a lot of money, like multiple, almost 6 figures, okay? But they gave me a 4-year payment plan, 0 interest, okay? So I negotiated cash. Here's what I'm gonna pay cash. I got the lowest deal possible. And then, so they thought I was gonna pay cash. And then at the last minute, I said, oh, you got that 4-year no interest deal? Because I didn't want them to bury margins into the payments plan. And so I got it for 4 years, no interest. So I took it, we paid it, I put it on auto pay, so made sure it was paid off in the time frame so we didn't get penalized. So I've done it. It's not irresponsible as long as the rest of your financial structure is in line and you are disciplined to make sure that you adhere to the terms of it so you don't get hit with the interest, okay? Alex, this is what everyone's doing, and I understand this. I have credit card debt, but I am still saving cash in my emergency fund just because of the economy and layoffs and budgets. I totally get it. Here's the question. If you have credit card debt and you're still saving, that's fine. But if you're continually going deeper into credit card debt while you're trying to save, that's a different question. That's not what you said, and I'm hoping that that's not what you're doing. All right, so. Question from Mark. I'm in real estate and wondering how much do you recommend putting down as a down payment? 20% is hard for most people to come up with. but prices, equity keep going up, best loan program. So Mark, I don't know if you're talking about residence or investment properties. Okay. So let me know about that. But here's my general rule. On your first home purchase, I'm okay with less than 20%. But remember, it's going to cost you more in payments, especially with higher interest rates. Because look, home prices have gone up. To save 20% to get into your first home feels like you're chasing a ball downhill and that you can't get there. And so you just don't see a way through. Now, I have an episode that's coming out about whether we should even think about buying a personal residence. So watch for that. All right. I'm not gonna tip my hand here. Okay. But watch for it. It's coming out soon. And but here's the thing. The challenge is that I get that it's hard to get to 20%, but why do we want 20%? The reason we want 20% is because if there is a decline in real estate values and the market, there's still equity in there to get you out. The problem that happened in 2008, because a lot of people were financing homes with 3%, 5% down, no income verification, is that when real estate dropped, they were in a negative position on the home. They could not get out. And the homes were not rentable where they would be cash flowing. So what did they had to do? They had to let the homes go, foreclosure, and they lost the property, lost everything. So it's exactly, and Dave Ramsey talks about it. He over-levered his properties. That's how he went bankrupt years and years ago. It's something that you need to be aware of. But I'm okay with less than 20% on your first home. Anything beyond that, I want 20% or more. When we bought this home, I put 50% down. Primarily, I didn't want the payments, but it also helped me negotiate a better deal because they didn't have anyone coming in at 50% down, and it fell out of escrow 4 or 5 times. And so we closed in 30 days. So I get that it's hard to get to that 20%, but I think that the responsible thing after your first home purchase is to do it that way. If you're looking at an investment property, we need to run the numbers because whether it's going to cash flow, take into consideration contingencies, vacancies, and possible repairs. The challenge with real estate, and it's why it's higher up in my wealth priority ladder, the challenge with real estate, especially when starting out, is you cannot get diversification because you're buying a single property. And it takes a lot more to get into it. And if you buy it incorrectly, the money is made in real estate on the purchase, not the sale. If you buy it incorrectly, or you have a bad tenant, or you end up with a bad property and you don't have the liquidity to support it, you're in trouble. And it can destroy you financially. Now, as far as loan programs, Mark, I don't keep track of them, so I don't know. And the loans are going to be different based on the kind of purchases. Is it a first home, second home, investment property, those kinds of things? Is it commercial? Is it residential? Will change. Commercial, we can get SBA financing and other things. So it just depends. And it also depends on the geography, where it's at. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. All right, let's see. All right, let me go back to here. Angela's got a question. I watched one of your videos. Angela says, good morning. I watched one of your videos where you mentioned the lost decade of the 70s. If that happens again, what do you believe are some strategies that can mitigate it? Thank you. Here's a great question. You're so welcome, Mark. This is a great question, Angela. Here's the interesting thing. The things that you need to do when the economy is going down are the same things you should be doing when the economy is going up or when the economy is going sideways. See, now, those of you on Instagram won't be able to see this, but But if I do this, what happens is that if you think about the market, the last decade, the market was doing this. It was just going sideways. It was going up and down in a range, okay? And that's it. But do you think that people made money then? A lot of people say, well, it was the last decade, the market didn't go up. No, it didn't go up. But within a range, it was going up and down, up and down, up and down. One of the reasons that I say that we are always buying is because if I am buying dollar cost averaging in, I'm buying when the market's going up, I'm buying when the market's going down, I'm buying when the market's going up, that overall my average cost is lower. And when the market starts to move up, I make money. This is the thing that people missed. Even in the last decade, you could have made money, but they think that you can't make money in it. You still could have made money. We just have to do the right things. No matter what kind of economy we're in, this is why I built the process in building your money machine the way I did. We need an unshakable foundation first. That unshakable foundation is built on two primary pillars, liquidity and debt management, okay? Meaning that I have cash to take care of me if there is a downturn or there's a need. I have cash to get into opportunities if there's an opportunity. This house, 50% down. Negotiate a deal that was probably 18% less than market. Okay? And debt management. That means that we're not using debt to pay for our living expenses on an ongoing basis. If we have debt, we're on a payment plan that gets us paid off in an accelerated way. If you're not sure what to do, I have something called the debt breakthrough calculator that you can go get at melabraham.com/no debt. Just grab it. Get yourself on a debt payment plan. Your unshakable foundation will be built on the liquidity, the debt management, and 3, your behaviors. Okay? Your behaviors. Once we know that we've got this dialed in, now we can start to invest. That is sound advice no matter what is going on in the economy. And so you're not going to stop what the economy's doing. The market right now, I'm looking at that charts on the market. The market is up 300 points today. At least the Dow Jones is up 300 points right now as we speak. The S&P is up. NASDAQ is up. Everything's up, okay? Everything's up. But it doesn't matter. Whether the market's up or down shouldn't decide what you do. A wealth journey is a long-term journey, and there's strategies and a process that you follow throughout time, okay? We shouldn't be changing that. Now, this is one of the problems that I see with some folks, some advisors, because a lot of these advisors have they came into the game. If all they've done is advised from say 2011 to 2020, that was a bull run market. You could have put a blindfold on and made money in the market, okay? If I have an advisor, their job is to allow me to make money no matter what the market's doing. In fact, I left an advisor because they couldn't answer the question effectively. Okay? So hopefully that answered the question there. Jose, he's back. Question today is, I heard about index funds specifically designed against inflation. Do these exist? This is a great question, Jose. Here's the deal. In general, what are we trying to do? We're trying to outpace inflation. Now, when inflation is 9%, that's a really tough haul. When inflation is 2 or 3% is much easier. But it's the very reason that people will say, well, if you put money in a savings account, your purchasing power is going away because inflation is eating it. So how do you beat inflation? You're in investments that outpace inflation. In other words, if inflation is 2 or 3%, how do I make more than 2 or 3%? Well, where do you do it? Most of the time it's in equities. Equities mean the stock market. So index funds, ETFs, and things like that. Now, is it possible that these things don't outpace inflation? Yeah, there's probably some index funds and ETFs out there that aren't doing well because they're narrow focused, they're illiquid, and everything. Most of my index funds and ETFs that we invest in are broad-based. They're large market. They're not narrow niche type of funds that have the same volatility as individual stocks. And so anything that's an equity is typically meant to outpace inflation. Whether it actually does or not depends on its performance and its asset allocation and diversification. So it's why, going back to Marco, who said I added international, international has outperformed the US stock market this year. Now, is it going to be that way for years? Who knows? It could flip next year. We don't know. But the key is that when I create an asset allocation, a portfolio, that I'm getting exposure to different asset classes. S&P 500, the top 500 companies in the stock market. Maybe a NASDAQ, which is the tech companies. Maybe an international fund that's taken into consideration international. Now, you can get a broad-based international fund, or you can get just Europe. Okay? So all those things will have an impact. But the key is that to outpace inflation, we want to be invested in typically equities, business interests, real estate, those kinds of things that will protect against inflation. Okay. Cool. Jason asks, what are your thoughts for having money in an online bank only to save on fees and not at a local branch that you can walk into? Jason, my question for you is, do you really walk into branches anymore? All of my banking right now is done with credit unions. I believe in credit unions. Low fees, low costs, community, family type of environment. I've had my business accounts, my personal accounts, everything's at credit unions. When I need something, they do it for me. I have someone I can call to do it. That, since I moved down to the beach, which we've been down here almost 15 years, but the closest branch is 90 miles away. I don't drive into the branch. I'll make a call. Everything that I do is online. I have online banks. My investing is at Schwab and Fidelity primarily. I don't have to walk into a branch for anything. So I don't believe, I did some episodes on the banking. If you go back, and how the big banks, they need to change their business model. They are making money off of your money, and then they're charging you fees on top of it. Okay? And penalties when you don't follow their rules. But they would not have a business if it wasn't for your money in the bank. But they're going to charge you to put money in the bank so they can make money on your money. I don't believe in big banks. I don't like big banks. So I steer clear of them. Now, if I'm going to be in an online bank, it's going to be a major online bank that has the FDIC insurance, has the liquidity, has that. Okay? So I have no problem with putting things in an online bank. Connect and link your accounts so you can transfer easily in and out. Okay. Kelly, I hope I'm saying the name right. I love my credit union in Canada, and they have better guarantees for safety, bank insurance, and personal touch is so much better. I totally agree. It's why I'm with the credit union. When I needed something, I called my person that I know at the credit union, and I said, listen, I had a money that was going to go into an investment, but I was transferring it from one account, and the credit union automatically put a hold on it. And I just called and I said, hey, Jennifer, this money is, there's a hold on, I just want to move it to an investment. She goes, give me 5 minutes and the hold will be off. If I had to do that with Chase or B of A or Wells Fargo, no, it's not going to happen. Plus, they're charging me fees. I don't want it. Okay. And that's what you want. Okay. Cool. More questions. What's going on? Tell me what's going on. I've got some questions that came in also. So let me just see what they said. This is a great question. If you could only automate one part of your financial life, what should it be and why? Here's what I would do. If you could only automate one part of your financial life, here's what you need to automate. Pay yourself first. That's it. Put yourself at the top of the rung. Okay? Because if you ain't taking care of number one, then who are you taking care of? That means when you get paid, there's a direct transfer, a direct deposit to a high yield savings account for your emergency fund that you're building, our peace of mind fund as we talk about it. There's automatic contributions to your 401k to get your employer match, or there's an automatic transfer to a Roth IRA. It is automatic without friction, without thought, without pulling a lever, without doing a thing. Removes emotion, removes decision-making, removes the thought of, well, I did want to go get that thing, so maybe I'll just do this deposit later. It removes procrastination. It becomes an automated habit. And that habit-based wealth building is the key. Couple $100 a month will turn into over $300,000 in 30 years. Invested properly. So the first thing I want to automate is pay myself first. Pay myself first. Such a good question. Cool. Let me just make sure there's no other questions here, and I'll go back to another question before we close out. Okay. All right, here's another question. How do you decide, Ralph says, how do you decide between paying down a low interest mortgage and investing extra cash? Okay. So here's the deal. The answer to that is partly it depends. The answer for a lot of financial questions is it depends, because it depends on your age, stage, and circumstances. I'm 2 weeks away from my 64th birthday. Y'all, I'll be 64. Stephanie says I act 12. Okay, that's not going to change, just so you know. So I'm in a different stage. If you're at 30 years old and you have a low interest mortgage that you're paying 275 on, like I have here, the growth on your money invested is far greater than paying off a 2.75% mortgage. I'd rather you invest it. Now, if you're at 63, 64, 65, or even in your 50s, we might need to think about it differently, because at some point, I want you to be debt-free or have the capacity to be debt-free. Full disclosure, I have a 2.75% mortgage on this home. It is not paid off. And I have chosen not to pay it off, and partly because I've run all the numbers. We have the ability to cut a check and pay it off any day we want. So the capacity to pay it off is similar to having it paid off in my mind. Now, I am not investing that money to pay off the mortgage in a way that puts it at tremendous risk. So I'm getting some arbitrage on it. But here's more of a general statement. So I would look at your age, I would look at your after-tax mortgage rate and the expected investment return, the time frame, because liquidity matters. If you're going to jeopardize your wealth creation by paying off a mortgage and not being able to fund, and you're delaying funding into your investing, those years, the amount of value growth and growth you get out of those years, it will far exceed the mortgage on a low interest rate mortgage. If it's a higher interest rate mortgage, we might have a different conversation. Now, so liquidity matters. Psychologically, it matters because like I said, there's destructive debt and there's productive debt. Now, I'm not saying, I don't believe all debt's the devil, but all debt has two personality traits. All debt costs. It's called interest. And all debt stresses. It stresses two things, your finances and your psyche. So there is a psychological impact of not having debt. Okay. But if you're in a low interest type of mortgage and you have time on your side, I would invest more likely. And if I'm in a low tax bracket, I would be using Roth to do the investing first and do that. So, yeah, Mark, going to be 64. Look out, world. So, cool. Other questions? Anything else coming in? Y'all, I missed talking to y'all. So I'm so glad that I was able to put this on the calendar. I have an interview coming up here. That's something special. That's you'll hear about it soon. If you're not on my list, get on my list because I'll send you an email about it. I'm going to do 10 days, 10 simple days. It's called 10 Days of Money Momentum. Starting in about a week and a half, I'm going to do it. Literally, I'm going to give you a prompt. I'm going to give you exercise, 10 to 20 minutes a day for 10 days to kind of transform your money. Totally free, nothing to sell, no pitch, just doing it. I did this a couple years ago. It blew the doors off, helped a lot of people, and I just wanted to bring it back. So I'm bringing it back, okay? Jason Weinstein on Instagram, my friend is here. Good to have you. He says, I am mortgage free and it doesn't feel any different. No, it doesn't. Yeah. So good. All right. One more question and then we'll close out. Oh, this is a great one. What's one expense most people underestimate when calculating their true cost of living? Oh, this is so good. Here's what I think it is. There's one of two places it is. And I think it's healthcare later in years, healthcare, long-term care later in years, and or maintenance on homes, okay, deferred maintenance and things like that, and everything. Here, let me give you a real story with mom. Mom, we lost mom. It's almost a year now. Next month it'll be a year since she's been gone. I can't believe that. But she spent 6 years on dialysis in a assisted living center. And she needed a lot of help in that last year and a half or so. And everything. She was going to dialysis 3 times a week and everything. That 6-year stint cost over $850,000. Fidelity did a study that said the average cost of medical care during retirement for a couple, they estimate to be over $315,000. Okay. So I think that one of the things that we, especially in this country, that we don't think about and estimate properly when we're trying to come up with our cost of living is this idea of what's our lifestyle cost. Now, I do have a calculator that'll help you with that if you go to melabraham.com/lifestyle, you can put numbers in and play with the numbers and get them in there, and everything. But so that's one part of it. The other part of it is, I think, deferred maintenance on home, car replacements, the things that you're going to need, is this idea of what does it take? Now, we live basically on the water in Laguna Beach. That salt air just eats everything up. And some of the infrastructure here, this community was originally founded in the 30s. The original house that we're in was built in the 40s, then completely torn down, rebuilt in the 80s, and then rebuilt again, and everything. So, but that salt air just eats at things. So the deferred plumbing, we had a main break and we had a sewer line that we had to replace and sleeve. I mean, and you don't realize it. You just don't know. what is it? And just stupid little things. Like I had my air conditioning, our air conditioning, we have 2 units, one for upstairs, one for downstairs. I had them come and just do the annual service. And he says, hey, you know, we should put a surge protector on these units just in case, so it doesn't fry anything if you get a surge. And I go, all right, what's that? And it's like $3,000. You just don't know about these things. So when you're building out what you think your cost of living is, you need to add some contingencies in there, and you need to be very liberal in some of the spending areas to make that happen. And like I said, if you want to try your hand at it, go to melabraham.com/lifestyle, grab the calculator and see what makes sense. Yeah, Mark, it's just our healthcare system. I don't know what the answer is, but the answer isn't what we're doing. So, all right, y'all. I hope that you found this fun. I have so much fun with y'all. And this is the first time I brought it back to Instagram. Hopefully we'll get more on Instagram and do that. Watch for me announcing the 10 Days of Money Momentum coming up. We will start that on August 25. And all I'm going to be doing is giving you a prompt. I'm going to give you a prompt. I'm going to give you an exercise and a worksheet in the morning. I'll go live in the afternoon. We'll talk about it. We'll answer your questions. I'll coach you for 10 days. We'll get you rocking and rolling. All right. In the meantime, you guys, so good to having you here. So good to chat with you again. Watch for us again, same time next week. Another money mentoring morning. You, me, your questions. Let's rock and roll. All right. You all have a blessed day. Oh, Jason, you're right. Smash the thumbs up before you leave. Hit the subscribe if you're on YouTube. Let me know. Give me some comments. All right. Let's get the message out there. Let's have real conversations around money that can move everyone to their birthright of financial freedom. And let's do it together. We'll bring this army and we'll bring it together. All right. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. And can't wait to talk with you soon. As I always say when I sign off, always go out there and strive to live a life that outlives you. See you in the next one. Cheers for now.